Hi, it's Bill Bishop, the CEO of the Big Idea Company. And I wanted to send out this quick video about DeepSeek because I'm sure you've heard all about it. You probably saw that the stock market on Monday went down significantly. NVIDIA, the AI chip maker, I think they lost something like $60 billion in market value in one day, which was actually a record for a single company. So it was definitely an interesting day, I'm sure, around their head office. But it actually has repercussions economically, politically, and it has implications for your business. And that's why I wanted to do this kind of hot take on this and share with you what I've learned in the last few days. So I've spent probably about 50 hours researching DeepSeek, hearing what other people have to say, and also using it. Actually, have an installed resident on my computer, which I'm going to show you in a minute what that looks like. So that's what we're going to look at. But most importantly, I'm going to show you how this intersects with new factory thinking. And that, if you've been following along, you know that that's our model for innovation and building a business for the future, building your new factory. It's a series of future forward business strategies that are aligned with the kind of economy we have now, which is driven by the internet, social media, and artificial intelligence. So you want to have your business aligned with that technology, these technologies, and this new factory thinking is a way to do that. And this launch of DeepSeek is a major step forward in the development of new factory thinking. Okay, so that's why it kind of blew my mind, but it wasn't actually unexpected for me. So that's what we're going to talk about: DeepSeek and new factory thinking. So, just a couple of days ago, okay, actually, just on Monday of this week, when all this DeepSeek stuff started happening, I was producing a video, a new updated video. Or I launched the video about new factory thinking, and which is all part of our new factory project 2030, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But in that presentation, I said between now and 2030, we can expect at least 3 black swans, which means unexpected and disruptive events that could happen. And I said at least 3, okay, right? So when that video came out that day, we had our first black swan event, which was when people figured out what DeepSeek was all about and went, oh my God, this is hugely disruptive, and talk about a black swan. Now, I alluded to this a minute ago, is that ultimately I wasn't surprised by this. Okay, I didn't know it was going to come from China. I didn't know it was going to be called DeepSeek or anything. But I have been giving talks about AI for the last couple of years since the release of my book, Dancing with Robots, which is about AI. And in that talk, I've said as part of it that you're going to see the release of open source AI models that will take up very little computing power, very little energy, and you'll be able to just have it on your laptop or your computer or your phone, and it'll be your own AI, and then you'll be able to customize that. That's what I've been saying for the last couple of years. Most people didn't really understand that, and up to now, it hasn't been that way, really. Okay, there are been open source models, but generally speaking, we've been using something like ChatGPT, right? Which is now I'm going to think of that as the old model of AI, which is that you're going to a central server and you're using their service and you're paying them and they control everything. This is decentralized and open source. So this is a totally different game, but like I say, it's not completely unexpected. Okay. I guess for the general person not studying this as much, they wouldn't know that, but this is something that people have seen coming for a while. Okay. So we just didn't know that it would come in this particular form. Okay, so this is definitely a black swan event, and it's taken a lot of people by surprise. And I would think that one person that totally took by surprise was Donald Trump. Okay, so he's just become president. He had all these called tech bros at his inauguration. Why were they there? Because he saw them as the future of AI, basically, and that he wanted to be. This is all part of America's Make America Great Again, and have these big tech companies kind of control the world through artificial intelligence. So that was that what it was when they had meetings at the White House, and everybody's talking about this big investment, Stargate, that they're going to invest $500 billion in AI, and literally the next day, all that goes out the window. Okay, so that's why I say this is a technological thing, it's a business thing, but it's also very political as well, because China and the United States, they're kind of in a bit of an arms race around AI, right? So this is why this is a big earthquake. So what exactly is DeepSeek? Now, there's lots of videos on YouTube that you can watch that'll give you a lot more detail about this. But essentially, what it is, it's a AI, let's just call it that platform that was developed by a small startup company in China. And I'm sure they had state support for it, but this was a startup company. And it was actually just this project they did on the side, because they had this extra computing power they weren't using on their servers. And they said, well, let's just use it to, maybe we can create an AI with it. Okay. So what's significant about what they created was, one, it only cost them $6 million, as far as we know, to make this AI, compared to hundreds of $billions to create ChatGPT, for example. So only $6 million. The other thing is that it uses inferior chips, like not necessarily the best chips, because China wasn't able to get them because of export restrictions on AI chips. So they were forced to figure out, how can we get a really good AI using class B GPU chips, right? To do this. So this is like necessity is the mother of invention here. So they had to think smarter about how to do this, right? So they created this AI model, and what's come out this week is they did kind of a clever thing and kind of sneaky. Is they actually used ChatGPT partly to train the model. So they actually just asked ChatGPT all kinds of questions and learned from what ChatGPT had to say. So it was kind of like training the trainer training the trainee. Okay, which is ironic, because one of the complaints about ChatGPT was that it's taken all this intellectual property on the internet and kind of stole it to train its model. So it's kind of a bit of a karmic thing, I think, when it comes to that. I don't know how that'll shake out, but but that's what they did. So Chinese were just being smart about it, I guess, figuring out, well, what's the best way we can do this, and often they're not been particularly concerned about certain rules, right? Anyway, so they created this thing. Now, the most important thing to understand about it is that it's open source. So something like ChatGPT, that's a closed system. We don't get to look at the software, the algorithms, the data. We can use it, but we don't. It's a black box. We can't look inside. It's their own proprietary intellectual property. With DeepSeek, it's free and it's open source, so anyone can use it on the DeepSeek server, and or you can also download it onto your computer and use it on your computer, and you're not even paying anything, and you're not accessing any servers in China and anything else like that. So this is like, okay, so somebody's selling, like ChatGPT, selling their premium AI for $200 a month subscription, plus fees that other companies pay to build apps on top of that are quite stiff. And then a competitor comes along and says, well, no, actually it's free, And if you want to use us as a server for other applications, it's like a tenth of the cost that somebody like ChatGPT is charging. So this is why the stock market went down. It's recovered a bit, um, but I don't know if that recovery will hold actually, because I think people were just buying. Investors were buying the dip there, but we'll see. But it has brought into question the business model of these big AI companies because they have to spend billions of dollars, use up all this energy. They even have planning. I don't know if they've done it yet to reopen 6 Mile Island nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania, where they had the meltdown in the 80s, and fire that back up again in order to provide energy for AI, right? Well, that all now is looking like old factory thinking, okay? Because maybe we don't have to do any of that because DeepSeek uses very, very little energy to train itself, and it also uses very little energy to act as a server, AI server, especially if you're using it on your own computer, right? It's not using hardly any energy at all. So this is a big deal. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, it's not so much about DeepSeek. It's that they've now shown a different way to do AI. Okay. So instead of it being sort of a top down hierarchical thing owned by a few big companies, now it's the idea of AI is going to be distributed, open source, and anyone can use it. And you can have your own AI in your company. And this is why it's just so important. Okay. Because this is like, Mark Andreessen said, who's a big venture capitalist tech guy. He said this is like the Sputnik moment, right? So the year I was born, 1957, the Russians launched the first satellite called Sputnik, and it really caught the United States and the Western world off guard. And all of a sudden, there was this whole space race that took off, right? And now China has introduced DeepSeek, and I do think that it was timed. I think they timed it to kind of undermine the United States and Donald Trump. Actually, the timing was not a coincidence. Okay, let's put it that way, right? So it's also good though. I think ultimately because it's going to make you know AI companies in North America and also in Europe really start to look at, okay, well, maybe there's a whole different way to do this, right? And it's going to be more distributed. So now, what you can do with this is really, really important to understand, is because you can download it onto your computer, right? Because you can put it on your own computer, then you basically are controlling your AI, okay? So these issues about privacy, which were very valid, have now that whole calculus has changed, right? So before, you'd be hesitant to put particular prompts into ChatGPT because you're wondering, okay, were they gathering all that information? Like, I don't want to put my proprietary information in here because maybe that's going up to the cloud and then being distributed to other people. So very valid concern, right? So there's a lot of hesitancy there. But if you can download an AI that runs on your computer, and therefore, anything you put into it just stays on your computer. Okay. It's not going off to China or up into Silicon Valley or anything where they can analyze your data. It's your data is yours. It's on your computer. You're using an AI on your computer. So you can even use DeepSeek on your computer without the internet. Like, you don't have to have the internet to use it. You can just get off the grid, go into the woods somewhere and be on your computer and use an AI without any internet at all. Okay. So that's very important as far as privacy. The second thing is that you'll be able to build on it. Okay. So you'll be able to build a stack of data that's yours and more proprietary AIs on top of that you'll be able to create an AI that's just for your company, right? So it knows about your company or knows about your industry. But all of this data, all of this AI will be proprietary to you. right? No one else will own that stuff. It'll be like you just have a word processing file on your computer that you bought, right? Or got for free, okay? And you have it on your computer, and then that's it. There's no other cost. There's no other, if you want to do stuff with that word processing file, then you can. Okay, so this is going to unleash a lot of innovation, much more than with these big tech companies controlling everything, because they actually aren't that innovative. Okay, they're really just trying to block out any competition. They're gonna, if they have any kind of upstart, they're just going to buy them. But this is not something that they can actually control. Okay, so that's very good, I think, for the economy, and it's excellent for new factory thinkers. Okay, so let me just show you first what it looks like to have it on your computer. Okay, let's just get that coming up here. There we go. So this is my computer we're looking at here. Okay, and and oh, just a second. I just got to get something out of the way there. It's getting in the way me showing you this. Okay, so there we go. All right. So this is actually running on my computer. If you'll notice up there, it says run DeepSeek right there where my cursor is. Run DeepSeek R1. Okay, so that's their model, and there's different levels of that. I don't need to get into that right now, but this is like the second level, right? And so each time you go up higher with the level you can download, you'd have to have a more powerful computer. So I haven't got to the point where I've downloaded the more powerful ones, but it's pretty well equivalent now to ChatGPT. Okay, so I can do everything I can. Now, the thing you got to understand about this is, like I say, this is just running on my computer now. I have the AI on my computer, okay, and I'm not going on the internet to access it or anything. So whatever I do on here is just my own private business, right? And so you could just go down. And right now the interface is relatively simple, right? Okay, but that's going to change too. There can be ways to make it much more robust and add all kinds of applications to it. But I just asked it there to write me a write me. Actually, I don't know if you can see that, but it says write a poem about open source AI. Okay, so what it does is, and this is really interesting too, is that it will think through first what it's going to do. So it's a AI reasoning model as well. Okay, so that's really state of the art. That it actually is thinking it through first, as opposed to just jumping right in and doing something. It thinks it all through and talks to itself and says, okay, how should I do this? So it says, all right, so I'm being asked to write a poem about open source AI. Okay, first things first. What do I know about open source AI? Well, from what I understand, so on. So it's thinking it all through, right? And then let me think of some images related to OpenAI that I can use. Lots of people contributing ideas, big potluck where everybody brings their own dishes and stuff. And then it's got some metaphors it's thought up, and then it wrote the poem. In a kitchen of chaos where ideas are born, a symphony of minds converge in the open air. From distant lands, a tapestry unfurls its thread, a unique twist to the digital world. So pretty bad poetry, but it's a poem. Okay. And so basically I can ask it to do anything, right? Okay. Now, this is on my computer. You don't have to have it on your computer, but that's really the most significant part of it, is that you can go on their website and you can use it there, and it's free, at least for now. And also you can put it on your phone and use it as well. So you have use on your computer, use their server, use it on your phone. But both of those, you're accessing their server, right? So that's questionable whether you want to do that. But if you get logged on to your computer, then that's your own AI that's running on there. Okay. So early days, but what I anticipate doing is starting to add my own data to this and building on top of this and having basically a big idea company AI that we run for our company, and then create products based on that AI that I'm not beholden to anybody. Okay, this would all be my intellectual property. All right, so that's my vision for this. Okay, now here's the thing. Okay, talk about old factory and new factory. So if you've heard any of my videos, I always talk about this. As I look at, there's two kinds of businesses out there right now. There's old factories and there's new factories. So old factories are basically product centric. They're in a particular industry, and they pump out that product right from some kind of um, assembly line, whether it's a service or a product. That's what they're doing, and it's sort of a one-trick pony. And it's basically how we've run businesses for the last 200 years, right? So like we're selling hammers, and we have a factory to make hammers, and we have an assembly line to pump out as many as we can, and we're trying to sell lots of hammers. That's an old factory, okay? Um, and then a new factory is the business of the future, okay? And it's built around a couple of things. One is it's not about any particular product. It's about building around a particular kind of customer. So having sort of like a very specific customer, and then building a value hub around them. So you basically can sell them almost anything, and it's designed as a network. So it's like being like an airport. Okay, um, I'll point you to the video that explains all this more in a minute, but that's generally the idea. So a company like Apple used to be old factory; they sold computers, and now they're a new factory because they're a value hub. They have a whole ecosystem of products and services that they sell to their customers, and they keep adding to that value hub, right? Okay, so that's the difference, right? So it's our contention that going into the future, a world of the internet, social media, and AI, is that you want to design your business as a new factory, as a network, right? As part of a network, and so that's the premise there. Now we think about old factory AI and new factory AI. Because one of the things I've been saying for quite a while is that you could be a very high-tech company and still be old factory. An example of that would be BlackBerry, for example. They had a leading edge product, right? Their BlackBerry, but it was a one-trick pony, and they were just trying to pump out those BlackBerries, and they got disrupted and went out of business, right? You also say, even like Netflix, for example, is a bit of an old factory because it really is just one thing. It's just a streaming service, right? Now, Amazon, who also makes movies, is a new factory because they're not just about making movies. They have a whole ecosystem of things they're doing. So they're a new factory. So, but let's look about the AI. Okay. So ChatGPT, so I just keep using that one because it's just easier than talking about all the other models. It was predicated on this hierarchy. Okay. So at the very top in the red, that would be ChatGPT up there. Okay. And so they're at the top of the food chain. So anytime you want to use ChatGPT, you got to go into their server and you got to use their AI from there. And that, they're the gatekeepers, so you got to pay them. Now, if you wanted to create apps that run on that, okay. So let's say you wanted to create an app like Descript or Synthesia or like hundreds of other ones that you may have already used. These are third-party companies that are building an AI on top of ChatGPT, right? So then they pay fees to ChatGPT for being able to do that, right? So that's sort of the business model, and it's a hierarchy, right? And then you have the users in the yellow below there, right? So AI, this is the model that they were hoping to make, right? So when we had the inauguration, and you had those guys from Google and ChatGPT and Amazon and so on at the inauguration, they were there because they're the top. They're the top of the top of the top, and they're controlling all this, and that's why they're billionaires. Okay, but you can see why that has its problems, right? Okay, so now we have new factory AI. It's distributed, right? So think of each one of those little dots as one of those dots is your company, right? And it's part of a network, and each dot has its own AI, right? So it's running its own resident AI that it got from a company like DeepSeek, right? Downloaded DeepSeek onto their own computer, and then they've built on that, and they've created all kinds of intellectual property on top of that. And any money they make from that, they get to keep. They don't have to give it to anybody. They get to keep it for themselves. And then there's all the idea of all of these things being connected. So every company, new factory has in the network has a value hub, and that value hub could include a lot of AI products and services that are running on their own open source AI platform, and they're controlling the whole thing. That's the difference. Okay. So what happens then is it does breed tremendous innovation, because each one of those nodes there has an incentive to keep figuring out, how can I create even more value with this particular with my AI. So maybe you're a financial advisor, right? That works with business owners, and you go, okay, well, I'm going to create an AI that's very tailored to the needs of business owners. It's going to upload all kinds of data and information about the specific issues and opportunities of that business owners are dealing with. And then business owners will use this AI to run their bid, maybe make business plans and stuff like that. That would be an amazing thing for a financial advisor to have. Okay. Let's imagine that you're some kind of other management consultant. Maybe you're a management consultant in inventory, right? You're inventory consultant. So you start to upload data into your AI about inventory management, right? And then you could actually give that AI to companies to manage their inventory, and you own that thing. And when you give it to them, they own it as a license, maybe, but now you're making money from that. So this is the potential of this, right? Like I say, we're early days on, and there has been other open source models, but nothing that was this open, okay, and this big, and potentially being used by everyone. So everyone is using this. Then there's a lot of incentive for people to specialize in learning how to use DeepSeek or some other thing. It may be another one, but let's say it's DeepSeek ultimately, to start building all of these applications that could run on this, to do almost anything. Okay. So my suggestion is that you learn more about DeepSeek. Okay. You learn more about AI in general, but also the difference between open source and closed proprietary AI models. Okay. And just see the difference. Now, I'm not saying that ChatGPT and, all these other platforms are going to go away. Like these, I'll call them corporate AI, are going to go away, because they can still provide a lot of things, but you're going to have to pay for it, and they're going to call the tune. Okay. So they're not going to get wiped out. That's not how I see it. They're going to be forced to provide a lot more value for a lot less money. And they're going to have to figure out how to run these AIs on a lot less energy, because otherwise they won't be able to they won't be competitive. So what's very interesting too, I mean, just think of the irony of this. All these AI companies, right? These tech companies, they've been disruptors. They've disrupted so many industries, so many companies. And in a flash, they just got disrupted, right? And it disrupted in a way that's going to be very hard for them to think their way out of it, because essentially at the core, they're old factory thinkers. They think in a linear hierarchical way, and it's all about eliminating the competition and try to maximize their profit by being in control of the whole thing, right? And God bless them, right? Okay, it takes us it's taken us pretty far, but now there's a whole different way of doing it, right? And maybe you could call it socialist or communist. I kind of call it democracy myself, but you can think about the implications for yourself there. So I know I probably haven't done justice to all this. I've really tried to tell you as much as I can, as coherently as I can. But like I say, this is early days. So I guess my encouragement is just to learn more about it. And I wanted to make sure that you understood sort of the paradigm shift that's happened with this. And I think that's the thing that um, is the most important thing. It's a paradigm shift in the way that we'll think about AI. And because AI is going to be the driver of the economy over the next decade and probably longer, a paradigm shift in how AI is done is a paradigm shift in business, the economy, and even the political environment in the world. So that's why this really shocked a lot of people. I'll just say too is I'm never a cheerleader for AI, okay? Because there is a downside to the distributed system. Okay, there definitely is. Okay, when you have a hierarchical system, there is some way to kind of control what people are doing with it. Okay, like because you can cut people off. You say like, I don't like what you're using ChatGPT for. We're gonna cut you off using it. Right? Maybe they can do that. But with a distributed system, everybody's got their own hand grenade, basically, right? So who knows what you're going to do with it? Okay, and hopefully good things, right? Maybe a hand grenade is not the right analogy. Maybe we've all been given a knife, and you can use that for surgery or you can use that to kill somebody. So everybody gets their own free knife. It's like some kind of shopping channel thing, and you get a free knife with it. So so if that's intriguing to you and you're starting to see that this is going to impact your world, right, which it will, then I do encourage you, if you haven't already, to watch my video called New Factory 2030. Okay, and what I do in that is I talk about the difference between old factory and new factory thinking, why that's important, why it's an opportunity for you to build the future business of your dreams. Okay, and I go through the 15 key strategies of new factory thinking that are basically the flip side of almost everything you ever learned about business. Okay, because we learned about business from old factory mentors, professors, books. They were teaching us about work during the Industrial Revolution, right? But these strategies are what works in the world of, like I say, the internet, social media, and artificial intelligence. These are different strategies that we're all going to have to learn if you want to be successful in the future. Well, basically now, but going into the future. And what we're doing here too is we have a network. It's called the Big Idea Future Network. So if you do watch the video, then you can just fill out a little registration form that tells me that you watched the video, and you get access to all the benefits of being a member of our network, and that's all explained in the video. So, but the network's free, and it's a community of people that are all working on their future business. They're basically their new factory project 2030. So it's a really cool group of people there. All right. So okay. So DeepSeek, check it out and go with it. It's all good. Don't worry. It's all good if we make it good. All right. Have a great day.